Hello everyone, welcome to Tuesday afternoon at 12 p.m. here on the East Coast, and welcome to another episode of Colavita Cooking Live. I'm your host, Elena, the Director of Marketing at Colavita USA, and welcome back. It is a gloomy day here on the East Coast, but that's okay because I have something that is going to brighten you and warm you right up. So we are somehow magically in December. I don't know how it actually happened, but now we have all the fun of holiday baking. Whatever holiday you are baking for, if you're baking for the season, this is a perfect cake. So, a little history on this cake. We have a fabulous partner in the baker Jessie Sheehan. You can find her on Instagram at Jessie Sheehan Bakes. She is a specialist in baking with olive oil and making super simple cakes that really require just a couple bowls, some mixing, and they're delicious, flavorful, moist cakes because of that olive oil. And so she's created this recipe for a gingerbread snacking cake. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I could use a snack of a cake every now and again. I mean, it's a slippery slope, right? But I'd like to try it out. And I think I'm going to try it with this cake first. So, full disclosure, there is a pre-made cake somewhere in the studio that I will reveal to you, and the smell of it is just divine. So I'm going to get to showing you how to make this cake. But in the meantime, real quick, I do want to show you something, a little housekeeping. We have this fabulous gift basket behind me filled with our premium Colavita products. These are great gifts for the holidays, and they're up on our Colavita store right now, where you can find under the gift baskets tab. So I've got like our premium Italian extra virgin olive oil, our wonderful balsamic vinegar, 3 different kinds of pastas, marinara sauce, some veggies, olives, artichoke paste, and even some sweets, and a fancy little pepper olive oil, which is really fun. So this is a great gift. If you want to check it out on our store, you can find it there. Okay, let's get to snacking cake, because at 3 p.m. we're going to need a snack. Okay, so I have in this bowl 2 cups of all-purpose flour, and I'm going to add a collection of spices and baking powder and baking soda. So I'm going to go with 2 teaspoons of cinnamon, ground cinnamon, 2 teaspoons of ground ginger. This is a lot of spices, this cake, so maybe more than you're used to, but the effect is really aromatic, really rich and delicious. It's very warming. We have a big heaping 1/4 teaspoon of cloves. We're going to pop that right in there. It smells so good. We have a little bit of black pepper just for a little kick. It's really going to accentuate all those spices. Put that in there. We have a 1.25 teaspoons of baking soda and a 1/4 teaspoon of baking powder, and then a 1.25 teaspoons of salt. And then we're just going to give this a little whisk together. I'm going to put my spice little... I'm the queen of tiny bowls, people. I have a lot of tiny bowls. It's perfect for this show. So I'm going to whisk this together right here just to make sure all my spices, my salt, my baking powder, baking soda are all incorporated. I'm going to take this moment to say that we are doing this episode again at 3 p.m. over on Instagram. And however, Jessie will be there making this cake herself. So if you want to catch that, please join us on Instagram. For now, you're stuck with me. Yay! Okay, so I have a slightly larger bowl here. This is like 1960s Pyrex I stole from my mom. And we are going to add all of our wet ingredients. And we're going to start with our star Colavita olive oil. I have an entire 1/2 cup in here. Now, if you guys have any questions about what I'm doing here, baking with olive oil or anything else, please pop them into the comments and I will be able to see them and hopefully answer them as best I can. So olive oil is going straight in this bowl. Now, olive oil is fantastic to bake with. because it adds flavor. So it's really, you're going to get a really nice balanced flavor. We've used our premium selection olive oil here. It's going to keep that cake nice and moist too, which is something you really want in a cake, especially a snacking cake. All right, I have three-quarter cup of brown sugar, which I'm going to put in here. And then I'm going to mix this up with a whisk, just my sugar and my olive oil, to get things all nice and mixed up. Ooh, thank you. All right, so I want to make sure to break up any lumps of sugar in that olive oil. I'm going to get like a nice olive oil sugary paste, if that's a thing. It is for this cake. And then I am going to add some molasses. I've got 2/3 of a cup of molasses. And this, it's not January, so the molasses is running slightly more quickly. Sorry. We make corny jokes here and snacking cakes. All right, we're going to get all the molasses in there. And then also we're going to add some vanilla extract. So we're going to go for a teaspoon of vanilla extract, get that in there, which will help to move the molasses around just a bit, a little bit more liquid. And I'm going to whisk again. This is a fun recipe for kids too, because there's not a lot of heavy machinery involved in this. It's just a lot of whisking. So if you want to get the kids involved. Okay, then we have 1 egg and 1 egg yolk. I'm going to add separately, one at a time. So I'm going to add that egg first and whisk. This is really such a nice, dark, rich color with that molasses. It's really good, really good. Okay, this is when you can pull that molasses container out of the back of your pantry and use it again. I think I use it once a year. All right, add a little yolk, come on. There we go. Okay. Okay, and then what we're going to do is a little baking trick that I've recently been turned on to is we're going to add 2/3 cup of boiling water. And what this does is that it's going to relax the glutens in your cake. So a cake doesn't need to be a very strong mixture. Like you're not making bread here, it doesn't need to hold together like that. So you know, cake flour typically is your weakest gluten or your weakest protein percentage. Here we're just using regular all-purpose, so we're going to add some hot water into our mixture just to relax those proteins a little bit more so your cake won't be tough. Okay, a little whisking action here just to get that all together. Now we are simply going to combine our dry ingredients into the wet, do a little mixing, be careful not to overmix, and then add it to our pan. All right, let's go. This is going to be a very wet dough, just to warn you, so don't freak out if you make this at home. I'm going to add a little bit at a time and just gently whisk. I don't want to go crazy. It's going to be a very wet dough because it's going to be a very moist cake, so don't worry if it feels like, you know, a little bit of a loose batter. It's going to be okay. Put the rest of that in there. Okay. And we're going to mix. You could also pull out your spatula here, but what I'm just mixing this with a whisk because sometimes you get a few lumps, and I want to make sure to delump my cake batter. It's very important. Also, instead of that, you could pre-sift your flour. I would say on a sifter, if I had to categorize myself as a type of person. I always remember when I would sit with my mom in her kitchen. She baked a lot when I was a kid, and she would sift. She had the fancy thing that you would, like, you know, use your hand and the flour would come out. And I was just like tragically bored as a child, and I liked to bake with her. I was like, oh my God, is it over yet? It hurts my hand, the whole thing. Anyway, I'm not a sifter, but there are many benefits to sifting your flour. However, now I have that there, this beautiful caramel color. It's got a few bubbles and no lumps. I would hopefully turn this closer, but you know, it's all going to come out on the table. So I have this, and we are ready to go into our pan. So Jessie, when she makes this recipe, and I believe we've linked the recipe in the comments, so you've got it there. You can click on it, head over to Jessie's website and make this yourself. But she uses a square pan. I don't have a square pan, so I'm going to use a round instead. And I have sprayed this, we just lightly greased it with a little Colavita olive oil and a piece of parchment on the bottom. This is really going to help lift it out so you don't have to worry about any sticking. And now I'm going to pour this in. And I'm going to use my spatula so I can just get everything in there.
Camellia said that she made the recipe on Saturday and the lumps were actually okay.
Oh, good, good, good. That is good to know. I like it when people have already tried the recipe and they can shout out any potential things that you might come across. So that is good. Here we go. Okay, so we've got our round cake pan filled. You can always just give it a few little taps to settle it. I'm going to put this somewhere over here. And what you're going to do is you're going to bake this for about 35 minutes at 350 degrees. What I would do and what Jessie recommends is to get a cake tester or a toothpick, and after that time, give it a little poke. She likes to have some of those crumbs clinging to the toothpick. I know some recipes say when a toothpick comes out clean, that means it's done, but I think sometimes that lends to a little over baking and a dry cake. So she's saying make sure it's like a little, there's stuff still clinging to that toothpick. Okay, bake this 35 minutes, give it a little test. And while it's baking, I'm gonna put it right there, we are gonna make our icing. So, icing. It's like the reason people eat cake, right? For the icing. This is no different. This is a really, really good icing. So what we've got here, we have 1 stick of butter. And I have my KitchenAid here. This is the paddle attachment. You could certainly do this with a hand mixer if you wanted to, but I felt like, well, I'll just bring out the big guns for today. So we have the KitchenAid. Okay. That way. All right, we're gonna mix this, and I wanna cream this separately just to get everything at the same consistency. I'm gonna add cream cheese, then I'm gonna add some confectioner's sugar, but instead of adding the cream cheese directly to the butter at the same time, I'm gonna mix this a little bit first. And you know what would always help if we plugged things in? That's how they work, you have to plug them in. Okay, I remember unplugging something else and then just walking away. Success! You're almost there. Okay, perfect. Now we're going to add our cream cheese. If you're just joining us, we are making Jessie Sheehan's gingerbread snacking cake. Super easy, super delicious. Filled with good stuff like spices and Colavita olive oil. That was 8 ounces of cream cheese going in there, and I am going to turn this on once again. Now we have a few things to add. For example, we have our vanilla. Always like to add a little vanilla extract to icing. It really brings out a nice flavor. Okay, so we're going to turn that on once again. You might need to make use of a handy spatula to scrape some stuff down from the sides. Make sure that all your icing is getting mixed appropriately.
Cooking with Jackie is here. He says, hey.
Oh, hey, how are ya?
And Camellia says mine was too dry because she used a 9x9 inch pan.
9x9. Oh, so it's a little big. So this is a good point that Camellia brings up. So we were considering making this in a rectangular pan, but we thought that it would be a little flatter. You know, we want to use what people have in their houses. I have a rectangular pan and a round one. And I think that because it's made for an 8x8 pan, if you use something bigger, you might want to adjust your cooking time by a few minutes, maybe 5, just to see, because it's going to be thinner, more surface area, it's going to take less time to cook. So I would try to do that. You don't have to run out and buy a new pan, but you might want to adjust your cooking time. It's a good fix. Okay, so now we have 4 cups of confectioner's sugar. And I'm going to add them 1 cup at a time. So we don't get powdered sugar everywhere, because that's what happens when you add 4 cups all at the same time. Also happens when you crank up the speed of your mixer. Oh, smoke. Good time. All right, this is a good time to keep that spatula handy so that you can scrape down the powdered sugar that will fly up to the side of the bowl. This is like a beautiful color right now. So nice. Okay, 2nd cup. Feel free to also add to the comments what you guys are going to be making, like your favorite holiday baking recipes. I would love to hear about them. I can tell you about mine. I always like to tempt fate with my mixer. Stick something in there and see what happens. So in my house, we have the constant struggle of the Christmas cookies. So my mom actually texted me this morning that she found some Christmas cookies from last year, and she texted me the picture of them. They don't look like you should eat them, I'll tell you that much. But what happens is my mom makes a lot of Christmas cookies and then hides them all over the house. So my dad and my brother don't eat them. Obviously, he contributed a lot more to the eating when he actually lived there, and it's surprising how much he still contributes to it not living there. But they're in tins all over the house, in the laundry room, underneath dining room side tables. I think there were some in the basement at one point. Hang on. Oops. I just keep doing it. It's fun. It's okay. Okay, we've got 1 more cup of confectioner's sugar, and then we're going to add some spices. And I'm just scraping down the inside. So in my house, we're an Italian family, so we make a lot of the Italian traditional cookies, like pizzellis. Those are some of my favorites. My mom also has these, like, she calls them like Italian wedding balls, or it's like also like a Russian tea cake. It's basically like a little ball of, maybe they're pecans. I don't know. It's all rolled in powdered sugar. Really good. But then she makes some traditional stuff that's like, you know, just basic, like butter cookies. I did it right that time. Look at it. No powdery cloud. All right. I think that's it. I think we have some extra in here. I'm going to add a little bit of cinnamon and a little bit of salt. You know, baking is much like seasoning your regular food. Salt is going to enhance the flavor, so a little pinch is a good thing. We're going to add a little cinnamon, and we're going to mix one more time. Ooh, pretty color.
Oh, your mom is here. She says it is pecans.
Yes, it is pecans. Okay, great. She also makes these like half moon things, and you know, she usually make, Mom, I'm going to put in a plug for these this year, these like little pecan tarts. They were like teeny tiny little tarts filled with some kind of pecan sweetness, whatever. I would like those this year, Mom. Please. You can have some of this cake. So yeah, Christmas cookies are a big thing in our house. All right, I am going to show you this icing because it's delicious. If I can detach it successfully. All right. So here we have our icing. And make sure you've got a spatula so you can just smooth in anything that's like any powdered sugar that's on the sides. You might want to get that. Now the other thing you can do is you can make this cake and then pop it in the freezer. I'm going to say that this one freezes pretty well. So, you know, you can pre-make the cake. If you want to actually have this on Christmas, pop it in the freezer, and then day of, you just make this fabulous icing. I'm into food prep these days. All right, so look at this. Woo, this is nice. Look at that.
Beautiful.
Beautiful light blonde color for this frosting. That is really nice. Okay, so now there's powdered sugar everywhere. We've got cake batter. We've got finished icing.
Your mom said she'll add them to the list. And,
Excellent.
Camellia says, I remember leftovers in the office last year.
There may have been, yeah. Okay. Ta-da! Look at this fabulous cake. So we baked this in an 8-inch round cake pan. It is nice and tall. So this is like really nice height. Fits on this beautiful little cake plate quite nicely. And it's got this nice shiny top, which we are going to cover up in icing, but it's nice to see it anyway. All right, and now we are going to ice. So, you know, I'm not going to say I'm the best icer on the planet, but what I am going to do is I'm going to dollop some of this on top, and then I'm going to spread it with an offset spatula and make some swirls. At least I'm going to try. Not swirls, swirls. All right, we're gonna start here and see how far we get. One more, actually. I mean, if we're really gunning for icing, you just want to put the icing on there. Okay, so now I'm gonna spread it around in a little swirly pattern. I think I'm better at icing cakes than cupcakes. I really couldn't get that technique down. It was like, I don't know. It was really hard for me. I'm gonna add a little bit more. Might as well go for it because I don't know what we're going to do with extra icing, except for eat it right out of the bowl. This is when your kids will want to help because they're going to want to eat the icing. All right. So like I was saying before, at 3 p.m. we'll be doing this cake again, but Jessie will be demonstrating it herself, giving you all of her wonderful baking with olive oil tips. She's such a great partner for us, and you know, really an expert in baking with olive oil, which is something you should certainly try because it's really easy, and it really adds a lot to your cake. Look at this. It's kind of like flopping over the side, but I kind of like it. All right, we're going to add a little bit more actually. Get some nice height, and then I'm going to cut it and show you the inside and maybe put it on a little plate. We'll take a bite and see. But there is one more thing we're going to do just to dress this cake up a little bit. So if you use a spatula, you get like a little bit more of a textured swirl, which is nice. Okay. Then what I'm going to do is I have some cinnamon in this tiny little sifter here, and I'm just going to take it and go over the top. This is like fancy finishing touches for an unfussy cake. And that's about it. Look at how fabulous that thing is. Okay, should I try to cut it? I didn't even think about bringing a plate or a fork, but I think we have that in this house somewhere. So right here I could see how like beautiful and moist this cake is. Hold this guy up. Look at this thing. This would be a fantastic addition to your holiday table. And you know, why not buy someone a gift basket and then suggest they make this recipe with the olive oil. Awesome, thank you. All right, we're going to do a little slice here. So nice. So after you take it out of the oven, what you want to do is actually let it cool in the pan until you can hold it. So 5 or 10 minutes or so, you know, whatever your hands can handle. And then you can place it onto a cooling rack. Look at that. That is nice. You can place it onto a cooling rack and let it cool completely. You don't want to ice a warm cake. That's generally bad form. Unless it's like even that kind of cake. You don't want to ice a warm cake because then your icing is going to get all floppy and runny. It's not a good scene. I'm going to grab myself a little fork over here real quick. A giant fork will do because it's kind of a giant piece of cake. And I'm going to try this guy. Let's see. Woo! That's really good. Good. That That tastes like the best kind of cakey gingerbread house I've ever eaten. That's really, really good. So nice. So, guys, that is it for today. We have cake, we have gift baskets, we have another episode with Jessie live on Instagram at 3 p.m. I hope you guys will come say hi. But even if you don't, I hope to see you here again next Tuesday at 12 p.m. where we have a really special holiday recipe for you. I won't spoil the surprise, but you will see it soon on Facebook and Instagram. So thank you so much for joining me here today. I'm going to have some more cake. This is going to be my lunch. It's a snacking cake. And I hope you make this recipe. If you do, tag us at Colavita USA. We'd love to see your cake photos, any of your holiday baking photos. And head over to Colavita USA, sign up for our newsletter so you can stay on top of all the latest recipe news and product news. And I hope you have a fantastic day. Ciao for now. Take care.